Have you ever noticed that when we start overthinking a decision, things get more complicated instead of easier? At first, we believe that the more we think, the better our decision will be. But in reality, the opposite happens. Overthinking slowly kills our clarity. It drops our confidence, and we make even a simple thing so complex that in the end we either get scared of making a decision or end up going in the wrong direction. Let's say you have to make a simple decision, like whether to join a new course or not. At first you think about the basics. Is the course useful? How much time will it take? What is the fee? So far, everything is fine. But then the overthinking begins. What if I take this course and it doesn't help me in the future? What if a better option comes along later? What if I can't even complete it? What will people think? Now look, you've made a simple decision feel so heavy that you yourself don't know what to do anymore. This is exactly the point where analysis paralysis begins. It means you're analyzing so much that you can't even make a decision. You keep thinking, building possibilities, exploring every angle, but action is zero. And the interesting thing is that throughout this process, you keep feeling like you're being very productive. I'm thinking, which means I'm serious. But the truth is, you're just stuck. Our brain naturally craves certainty. We want every decision we make to be 100% right. But the reality is that very few decisions in life are completely perfect or guaranteed. Still, we keep trying to eliminate every risk, understand every possibility, predict every outcome. And this is the root of overthinking. When we add too many variables, confusion grows instead of clarity. If you look at 3 factors to solve a problem, the decision is relatively easy. But if you start looking at 30 factors, each factor brings a new doubt. Then you compare. Then you double check. Then you doubt whether you compared correctly. That's how your brain gets stuck in a loop. Another major damage overthinking does is it slowly eats away at your confidence. In the beginning, you trust your own judgment. But the more you think, the more you start doubting yourself. Am I thinking right? Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I should do more research. And this maybe keeps pulling you further away from the decision. We often think that successful people must be very deliberate and thorough in their decisions. But in reality, those people make timely decisions. They think only as much as necessary and then take action. Because they know that clarity doesn't always come from thinking, it also comes from doing. When you take action, you get real feedback from which you learn and make your next decisions better. Overthinking also has a hidden problem. It traps us in imaginary problems. We create future scenarios in our minds that may never even happen. Like, what if this goes wrong? What if that fails? We create worst-case situations in our heads and then get scared of them. While in reality, things are often not as bad as we imagine. Take a simple example. If you need to talk to someone, share an idea, or apply for an opportunity, the overthinking starts immediately. What if they say no? What if they judge me? What if I say the wrong thing? And because of all these thoughts, you don't take action at all. Later you feel regret. I wish I had tried. Overthinking also disconnects us from the present moment. We either keep thinking about past mistakes or stay tangled in worries about the future. And in this process, we lose the clarity that only comes from being present. When you focus on the present, things feel simpler and more manageable. Now the question is, should you not think at all? Absolutely not. Thinking is necessary. Analysis is necessary too. But the problem happens when it goes beyond a limit. Just like salt is necessary in food, but too much salt ruins the dish. Similarly, thinking is necessary, but overthinking ruins the decision-making process. So what is the solution? The first step is understanding what enough information means. For every decision, you don't need unlimited data. You just need enough information to help you make a reasonable decision. After that, you should tell yourself, okay, now I need to decide. You can create a simple rule for yourself, like setting a time limit for any decision. Let's say you have to make a decision about something. Give yourself 1 day or 2 days. In that time, gather whatever relevant information you can, and then make the decision. This way, your brain won't get stuck in an endless loop of thinking. Another useful approach is the good enough mindset. If you enjoy our free summaries at AriseReads, you can subscribe to our channel, get our membership, or support us. Now, back to the summary. The idea is that you don't need a perfect decision, you need a sufficiently good decision. Because a perfect decision often doesn't exist, and if you keep chasing perfection, you'll never take action. One practical way to get out of overthinking is to start writing down your thoughts. When you keep thinking inside your head, everything gets mixed up. But when you write it down, clarity comes. You can see what your real concerns are and which ones are just unnecessary doubts. Often you realize on your own that you are blowing things out of proportion. You can also observe how many of your fears actually come true. If you look honestly, you'll find that most worst-case scenarios never happen at all. Slowly, your brain starts to understand that there's no need to be so scared of everything. Here's an interesting point. Action itself is the cure for overthinking. When you take action, your focus shifts from thinking to doing, and clarity naturally comes through doing. Just like if you want to learn swimming, you can read all the theory you want, but until you get in the water, the confidence won't come. Overthinking also has an emotional side. Many times we overthink because we fear failure, fear being judged, or fear losing control. But if you accept that mistakes are a part of life, overthinking naturally starts to reduce. You also need to understand that not every decision is life-changing. We often make small decisions feel so enormous, as if they alone will determine our entire life. While in reality, we make so many decisions every day, and most of them have a limited impact. This understanding will make you feel lighter. Another powerful idea is decide and adjust. It means first make a decision, then adjust it if needed. You don't need to make everything perfect from the start. Life is not a one-shot game where one wrong move ends everything. You learn, you improve, and you move forward. Overthinking slows you down. While in today's world, speed is just as important as accuracy. If you keep thinking for too long, many opportunities will slip through your hands. Sometimes making an average decision quickly is better than making a perfect decision too late. In the end, it comes down to this. More analysis doesn't always mean a better decision. Sometimes it makes the decision worse or just delays it. So you need to learn to control your thinking process. Think, but within limits. Understand, but don't overcomplicate. And most importantly, take action. When you build the habit of telling yourself, I've thought enough, now I need to decide, slowly your confidence grows, your clarity grows, and you start moving forward in life. Because in the end, the people who get ahead are not just the ones who think, but the ones who act. Many times you must have felt that even without thinking too much, you made the right decision. A voice from within said, this is right, or stay away from this. And later it turned out your gut feeling was correct. Many people call this magic or a sixth sense. But in reality, intuition is not magic. It's a smart ability of our brain that develops slowly over time. In simple terms, intuition is basically pattern recognition. Your brain recognizes patterns from past experiences and instantly gives you a decision. When you do something repeatedly, make mistakes, learn, observe, your brain keeps storing that experience. This storage is not just facts, but a mix of situations, emotions, and outcomes. Slowly, your brain learns what kind of outcome is likely in what kind of situation, and then in the future, when a similar situation arises, your brain instantly sends a signal, without any lengthy analysis. Let's say you've been driving for a long time. In the beginning, you had to consciously do everything. When to press the clutch, when to brake, when to shift gears. But after some time, it all became automatic. Now you drive smoothly without thinking too much. If a car suddenly comes from the wrong direction or a danger appears, you react instantly. You didn't sit down in that moment and analyze what you should do. Your intuition worked, and that intuition was built through practice and experience. Similarly, if someone has been in business for a long time, they can often tell in a single glance whether a deal is right or not. They don't always open spreadsheets and analyze data before deciding. Their experience gives them instant signals. Those signals are intuition. But the important thing to note is that this intuition didn't come out of nowhere. It's the result of years of learning, failures, observations, and actions. A lot of people make the mistake of blindly following intuition without having any real experience. If you haven't worked in a field at all, haven't learned anything from it, then your gut feeling won't be reliable. Because the quality of intuition depends on the quality of your experience. If the experience is shallow, the intuition will be weak too. So you should only trust intuition when you've put time and effort into that area. Now here's an interesting thing. Intuition is fast. It gives decisions much faster than slow, deliberate thinking. When you analyze everything, write out pros and cons, explore every possibility, that's slow thinking. It's necessary, especially in new situations. But when you become experienced in something, intuition gives you the answer in seconds, And often that answer is just as accurate as what you'd get from a long analysis. Just like an experienced doctor can often sense what the problem might be just by looking at a patient, they quickly suggest tests because they've seen similar cases before. A new doctor, on the other hand, will analyze everything step by step, which isn't wrong, but it's slow. With experience, intuition develops and gives you both speed and accuracy. To understand intuition, it's also important to understand that our brain is constantly searching for patterns. Whenever you face a situation, your brain automatically compares it with past experiences. If it finds a similar pattern, it instantly gives a signal. This is safe, or this is risky. This process happens so fast that we don't even notice it at a conscious level. But the problem happens when we ignore our intuition or start doubting it. Sometimes there's a clear signal from within, but we start overthinking. No, I should think more about this. Maybe I'm wrong. What does the data say? And in this process, we suppress our natural instincts. Slowly, we start losing trust in ourselves. This doesn't mean intuition is always right. Sometimes it can be wrong, especially when our past experiences are limited or biased. Like if someone has seen a lot of negative experiences, their intuition might see every new situation as risky, even when it's safe. So blindly following intuition is not right either. You need to use it wisely. A balanced approach is to see intuition as a signal, not as the final truth. If your gut is saying something, don't ignore it. Consider it. But if needed, apply some logical thinking as well, especially when the stakes are high or the situation is completely new. The best way to strengthen your intuition is to take action. The more you work in the real world, the more your brain learns patterns. Just reading books or watching videos doesn't develop intuition. That gives knowledge, but intuition comes from experience. When you personally make decisions, make mistakes, and see results, that's when your brain learns. Reflection is also very important. Just having experience isn't enough. You also need to learn from that experience. If you made a decision and the result was good or bad, take a moment to think, why did this happen? What did I do right? What did I do wrong? This reflection helps your brain understand patterns more clearly. Slowly, your intuition sharpens. You start picking up signals in smaller and smaller things, someone's body language, their tone, the vibe of a situation. All of these things together help you make faster and better decisions. And the most special thing is that this process is natural. You don't need to learn any separate magic trick. Another interesting thing is that intuition is also connected to confidence. When you consistently make right decisions, your confidence grows and you start trusting your gut more. On the other hand, if you keep doubting yourself all the time, your intuition gets weaker. So building self-trust is also very important. Many successful people openly say they trust their intuition. But if you look at their journey, you'll find their intuition is not random. It is the result of years of experience, failures, and learning. They have practiced so much that their brain automatically recognizes the right patterns. Now the question is, when should you trust your intuition? The simplest answer is, when you are experienced in that area. If you've spent time in a field, worked in it, faced its challenges, then your gut feeling is valuable. But if you're in a completely new field, then alongside intuition, logical analysis is also necessary. You can try a small experiment. Whenever you need to make a decision, first notice your gut feeling. What is your first instinct saying? Then think it through and make a decision. Afterward, compare what was the difference between your intuition and your final decision, and what was the result. This will help you understand how accurate your intuition is. Slowly, you'll start understanding the language of your own intuition. You'll be able to tell which feeling is genuine and which one is just fear or doubt. This skill improves over time. In the end, it simply comes down to this: intuition is not a shortcut. It is a compressed form of experience. It converts your past learning into a fast signal. That's why both ignoring it and blindly following it are harmful. The right way is to understand it, develop it, and use it wisely. When you take action, learn, and reflect, your intuition gets better day by day. And a time comes when you start making good decisions without too much overthinking. That is the real power of intuition: fast, practical, and deeply informed. So the next time your gut says something, don't immediately reject it. Pause, listen, understand. Because it's possible that your own brain is giving you a smart shortcut from your own past experiences that could lead you in the right direction. Many times we feel like we're thinking in a very smart way, analyzing things from every angle. But the truth is that our brain is actually tricking us. We think we are being logical, but our decisions are heavily influenced by hidden biases. These biases are mental shortcuts that our brain uses to make quick decisions, but they often lead us in the wrong direction. And the interesting thing is that overthinking is often not deep thinking at all. It's just those same biases running in a loop over and over again. Let's say you're about to make a decision, like whether to change jobs or not. You start thinking. You write out pros and cons, compare options. From the outside, it looks like you're doing serious analysis. But what's happening inside is more important. Many times you're just repeating the same thoughts over and over. The same fears, the same assumptions, but it feels like you're thinking something new. This is the bias loop that fuels overthinking. The most common bias is loss aversion, the fear of losing something. Our brain naturally wants to avoid loss. The pain of losing $100 is far stronger than the joy of gaining $100. That's why when making decisions, we focus more on potential loss than on potential gain. Like if you receive a new job offer, you think, what if the new job doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I lose my current stability? All these thoughts come from loss aversion. Now the problem is that this bias keeps you safe, but it also blocks your growth. You start avoiding every risk, even when the risk is calculated and manageable, and you get trapped in overthinking because your brain keeps creating worst-case scenarios. You think you're being careful, but in reality you're making decisions under the influence of fear. The second important bias is confirmation bias. This means we look for information that supports our already formed beliefs. If you've already decided in your mind that an option is risky, you'll search everywhere, on the internet, from people, for examples that prove it's risky. You'll ignore the cases where that option was successful. This way, your analysis doesn't stay balanced. It becomes biased. This bias is very dangerous because it gives you the illusion that you're making a fact-based decision when you're actually cherry-picking facts. You convince yourself, look, I did research, but you only researched what confirmed your fear or belief. And then you sink even deeper into overthinking because you feel like something is still missing, when in reality you're just going around in circles. The third bias is overconfidence. This is a bit tricky because in this one, you feel very sure, very right. But this confidence is often not based on real understanding. It's based on assumptions. Like someone who thinks they know everything and ignores new information. Or someone who becomes overconfident in every situation based on their past success, even when the situation is completely different. Overconfidence can also fuel overthinking because you keep justifying your assumptions. If something doesn't match your belief, you keep analyzing it until somehow it fits. In this process, you lose objective thinking. The biggest characteristic of these biases is that they're invisible. You don't even realize you're under their influence. You feel completely rational. This is exactly why overthinking gets so confusing, because you think you're going in the right direction while you're actually stuck in a mental loop. Take a simple example. If someone has experienced financial loss in business before, their brain will automatically see risk in every new opportunity. They will analyze every small detail, check every possibility. But in reality, they're just justifying their fear of past loss. They think they're making a smart decision, but it's bias-driven overthinking. Similarly, these biases show up in relationships too. If someone has been betrayed before, they'll doubt every new relationship. They'll analyze every small thing. Why did they say that? Why did they reply late? And this overthinking mentally exhausts them, while in reality they're caught in a mix of confirmation bias and loss aversion. So now the question is, how do you get out of this? The very first step is awareness. You need to understand that your brain is not always neutral. It has biases that can distort your thinking. When you accept this, only then can you start recognizing them. A very powerful question you can ask yourself is, am I analyzing facts or am I just feeding my own bias? This question is simple but very effective. Whenever you're stuck on a decision, pause for a moment and ask yourself this. If you answer honestly, many times you'll realize on your own that you're stuck in a loop. You can also check whether you're taking in balanced information or not. If you're only looking at negative examples for a decision, consciously look at positive examples too. If you're only listening to things that support your belief, try to understand the opposite viewpoint as well. This will widen your perspective and reduce the effect of bias. Another helpful approach is to simplify the decision. Biases are often most active when a situation is complex. If you look at things in simple terms, is this option logically sound? Is the risk manageable? clarity will increase. Going into too many details sometimes doesn't bring clarity, it just brings more confusion. You can also make your decisions time-bound, because the more time you spend thinking, the more opportunity biases get to influence you. If you make a decision within a reasonable time, you can avoid getting trapped in that loop. Reflection is very important here too. When you make a decision and the result comes in, analyze which biases were active in your thinking process. Did you ignore something? Did you give too much weight to a fear? This awareness will slowly improve your thinking. Another interesting thing is that biases never fully disappear. They are a part of our brain, but we can learn to manage them. Just like a driver knows there are blind spots on the road and pays extra attention, similarly, if you know your own mental blind spots, you can make better decisions. To get out of overthinking, it's very important to understand that more thinking is not always better. Many times it's just those same biased thoughts repeating themselves. If you recognize this, you can consciously break out of that loop. You also need to understand that perfect clarity will never come. Biases will always be present to some degree. But the goal is to make a decision with enough clarity and move forward. Because only by taking action do you get real feedback that helps correct those biases. Slowly, as you start recognizing these biases, your thinking becomes clearer. You start to understand which thought is genuine and which one is just fear or assumption. Your confidence also grows because you know you're not reacting blindly. You're choosing consciously. In the end, it simply comes down to this. Overthinking is often not a sign of deep intelligence, but a result of hidden biases. When you understand this, you can handle your mind better. You don't blindly accept every thought, you question it. So the next time you get stuck on a decision and feel like you're overthinking, just pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I actually looking at facts? Or am I reinforcing my own bias over and over again? This one small question can pull you out of a very big mental trap. And when you start making decisions with this awareness, slowly overthinking reduces, clarity grows, and you begin moving forward in life with more confidence and balance. That is the real goal, not to think perfectly, but to think in the right direction. In our daily lives, we make hundreds of decisions. Some small, some big. But the interesting thing is that we often make every decision more serious than it needs to be. We feel like whatever choice we make right now will define our entire life. Because of this mindset, we get trapped in overthinking. We start analyzing every small thing as if it's a final, permanent decision that can never be changed. While in reality, things are quite different. Most decisions in life are reversible, meaning they can be changed or adjusted later. Let's say you want to learn a new skill, like coding, design, or public speaking. Now, if you treat this as a permanent decision, what if I start this and it turns out to be the wrong choice? You probably won't even start. You'll keep researching, comparing options, waiting for the perfect timing. But if you see it as a reversible decision, let me try and see. If it doesn't feel right, I'll switch. Suddenly things feel lighter. The pressure reduces and you can take action easily. In reality, our brain fears uncertainty. It wants every decision to be safe, perfect, and have a predictable outcome. But because that is rarely possible, we fall into overthinking. We try to explore every angle, eliminate every risk, and in this process we spend so much time and energy that making a decision itself becomes difficult. If you observe a little, you'll find that most of your life's decisions are actually reversible. You chose a course, you can change it later. You took a job, you can switch. You started a habit, you can modify it or quit it. Even in many relationships, adjustments are possible. And yet we treat them like lifelong commitments. This mindset makes us unnecessarily heavy. We turn every decision into a life and death situation. If this goes wrong, everything will fall apart. While in reality, that rarely happens. Life is flexible, and we need to look at our decisions with that same flexibility. A simple but powerful idea is to divide every decision into two categories: reversible and irreversible. Reversible decisions are ones you can change, adjust, or undo later. Irreversible decisions are ones with a long-term and permanent impact, like major financial commitments, marriage, or certain specific life choices. Now, the problem is that we often mix these two up. We treat reversible decisions like they're irreversible and start overthinking them. When what should actually happen is, reversible decisions should be made quickly so we can move forward. Because even if they turn out to be wrong, we can correct them. Like if you're deciding which book to read, which gym to join, or what to do on the weekend, these are all reversible decisions. There's no major benefit in spending too much time on them. Just pick an option, try it, and if it doesn't feel right, change it. There's no need for perfection here. On the other hand, some decisions do need a little more thought, like a big investment, a career shift, or a long-term commitment. These are irreversible or less reversible decisions. So being a bit more careful there makes sense. But even here, there should be a limit to overthinking, because infinite thinking doesn't bring clarity. The biggest benefit of this approach is that it reduces the clutter in your mind. When you treat every decision as equally important, your brain gets overloaded. But when you start classifying, this is small, this is big, this is reversible, this is irreversible, your thinking process becomes clearer. You know where to decide quickly and where to take a little more time. Another interesting thing is that when you start making reversible decisions quickly, your speed increases. You try more things, gain more experience, and learn faster because you're not stuck. You keep moving, and movement is what brings growth. On the flip side, if you keep looking for the perfect choice in every decision, you'll miss out on a lot. Opportunities will pass, time will go by, and you'll stay right where you are. Sometimes making an average decision and moving forward is better than waiting for the perfect one. A practical way to understand this concept is, whenever you're stuck on a decision, ask yourself, can I change this later? If the answer is yes, it's a reversible decision, and you should make it quickly. If the answer is no, take a little more time to think, but still, at some point, decide. This question is very simple but very powerful. It saves you from unnecessary overthinking and gives you clarity on how much effort to put in. Another important point is that even with reversible decisions, we often hesitate because we fear failure. We think, what if I made the wrong choice? What will people think? Or how will I feel about myself? But if you see it as an experiment, I'm trying, I'm learning, that fear reduces. In life, we learn a lot of things through trial and error. Nobody starts out perfect. If you always try to make the perfect decision, you'll never try anything new. But if you keep a flexible mindset, you can adapt easily. Take an example. If you want to start creating content, you think, which platform is right? What niche should I choose? What if it doesn't work? And you keep thinking for months. But if you treat it as a reversible decision, let me start with one platform, I can always change later. You'll be able to take action quickly. Slowly you'll start understanding on your own what's working and what's not. That clarity will come not from thinking, but from doing. And that is the real power of this approach. When you learn to take decisions lightly, your mental energy is saved. You don't stress over every small thing. Your mind stays relaxed, and you become more creative and productive, because your focus shifts from overthinking to action. This doesn't mean you have to be careless. It means you have to be smart. Go deep where it's needed, and keep it simple where it's not. That balance is what makes you efficient.